Hello there everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Phantasy Star 2. In the last episode, we didn't actually get up to much, in all honesty. We basically ended up preparing for this episode. So, we are playing as Rolf, an agent of the governor of this planet. We have been assigned a case. We need to go and investigate an incident at the Biosystems Lab. We need to go and find the recorder there. Now, unfortunately, to get to the Biosystems Lab, we need to get through a tunnel that is currently blocked by a bandit by the name of Darum. Darum is only a bandit because his daughter was kidnapped by a bunch of scoundrels when his hometown of Arima was destroyed. So, to get past him, we need to go and find his daughter in their hideout named Shore. So, typical JRPG stuff. Nothing is quite as simple as it could be. There's always some roadblock here or there or wherever. It makes things a bit of a nightmare to get to. Now, unfortunately, that does mean that we have a bit of a trek in front of us to get to the tower. It's a fair distance, and we're not very quick. But we did a fair amount of grinding in the last episode. A lot of grinding, so much grinding, which should hopefully make things all just a little bit faster and easier. And it's always worth going for the fighting. You can teleport between locations, but that costs money. Plus, you're so stingy with the XP in this game, or at least at this early stage in the game, that you really want to go for any opportunity to get into a fight, because it's the only way that you're really going to be making any real progress, chipping in at all on the ridiculous amount of experience you need to level up compared to how little you're getting. Like being all of those enemies, 4 experience points. I need something like 400 to level up these characters. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, we did a lot of grinding in the last episode. It's definitely paying off because we're beating these enemies very quickly in comparison. Now, Rudo is the blue-haired guy on the right. He's our main character. He's our main attacker at the moment. We then have Rolf, who is blonde. He's our tank. That's why he's at the head of the party, because that should apparently make him get attacked more often. It isn't really working, but apparently he should be getting attacked more often. And then Nay in the back is something called a Newman, which is a sort of hybrid between a human and some sort of monster. So that's why she's some sort of catgirl stereotype. Now, luckily, enemies, for the most part, at this stage are pretty easy. There's only one real dangerous enemy at this point. It's called the Amaranth. But they only seem to spawn in a very particular part of this section of the map. So we should get through without seeing them. We'll just be dealing with locusts, which are really weak in all honesty, 10 HP, and they don't have any special attacks. So, much as they look quite intimidating, they're really no threat at all. There we are. There is the Tower of Shore, or the facility I should say. Now, this is frankly where the games start to get a bit ridiculous. Phantasy Star 2, if it's famous for anything, it's famous for the ridiculously complex dungeons that appear all throughout the game. To the extent that the game came out with a manual. Sorry, the manual came with a guide that had all of the maps on it, just because it was so ridiculous to ask people to get through the game without it, that they were just like, whatever man, here you are. There's a story about it. There was a somewhat enthusiastic intern working at Sega at the time who basically ended up making these really complex dungeons, and the team were just a bit too, from the sounds of it, just a bit too disheartened to turn around and say, no dude, we can't be sipping the game like this. So, no, they stuck with it. These are the dungeons you gotta deal with. I have 2 separate guides up on my second monitor. One is a text guide that kind of walks you through the journey. Unfortunately, it doesn't even try and give a real map. It doesn't, you know, make diagrams or anything. It gives the directions through the dungeons entirely through text, but, you know, that's just neither here or there, you know. So I've got a second guide up that's just the map is sure, so I know where I'm going. Effectively, we're just looping around this bottom floor. Those are grey things that you're seeing down in the corner there. Those are chests. We can't get to them on this floor. We need to teleport down to them on those arrow suit things that you saw. But at this point, enemies aren't too bad. The only real dangerous one I'm seeing on this lineup is that... Well, I say dangerous. It looks dangerous. Something about the froggy makes me assume it's doing a lot more than it is. In reality, I don't actually think it's doing much. The game isn't great at communicating what the enemies are doing to you. Like, it doesn't bother coming up with a pop-up saying that this enemy did this amount of damage. So, and it is sometimes even a bit unclear which person they're attacking. So you can just sit there and be like, who are you fighting? Am I supposed to be worried? Who knows? But again, at this stage, we can really just let the characters whittle away at the enemies without any real danger. As you can see, Rolf is the main attacker. He can deal between 20 to 25 damage with his attack. Nay, as much as he's a healer, so he's our second attacker, so he can deal about 15 to 20 when two attacks are combined. Rudo, 2 attacks combined, he's doing about 10 to 15, so not as great. But I am told that he does scale eventually quite well. Now there is one chest on this floor that we can get. It's down here. Oh. Okay, one more set of locusts before we get to it, I guess. Oh, look at that. Nay deals with it in one single attack. Well, 2 attacks, you know what I mean. There we are, we can grab this. Nope, that's not the right button. X. Rudo's got a hold of 40 Meseta. That's our currency, if you couldn't guess. And here we are, we can go up finally onto the second floor. Now let's see, where are we going from here? On the second floor, we're walking south along this corridor. We are then going to the southwest corner from the sounds of it. Yes, okay, let's just deal with these guys. Put them through. We're going to the southwest corner. And then, southwest corner. Okay, there's a box over there, we'll go and grab that. And then we're going up a teleporter to go and grab something on the 3rd floor before heading back down. I will say that I'm not surprised that a lot of the mods that I'm seeing for the game go and give a turbo mode, because it is a bit slow going. Rudo has found Demate. It's a healing item effectively. But we can now just teleport up here. We're going to go to the right. Through here. We're going to go and grab another chest, a headgear. I am going to quickly see. I don't know whether Rolf has... Okay, Rolf has headgear. Does Rudo have headgear? Yes, okay. Well, we can sell that in the future, so it was still useful. Again, the game is so stingy with things like money and all the rest of that, that you really do end up wanting to sell things off a lot anyway. Well, these are slightly more intimidating than anything we've seen thus far, so I'm going to go and make Rolf use his Foy ability on, yeah, I guess the poster, who knows. Haven't seen these guys before, so who knows what they're going to end up doing. Okay, luckily they're not crazy tanky from the looks of it. And again, I can't really tell how much damage they're doing. But, you know, I'm not liking the look of them. They look scary, so I'm going to assume they're doing quite a bit. I think that's a good way to look at things. Just assume that if they look scary, they're probably doing quite a bit to you. Right, we head back down, and then we're heading northeast So we have to kind of loop around like we did on the first floor. We need to loop around this way. And we're heading up to the northeast corner of the level. We're ignoring those teleporters for now. They're going to come in handy later. Oh, okay. Now it's all scary enemies. Let's see. I actually think that, Rolf now ends up doing less damage with his main attack than he does by just hitting the enemy. So, in fact, we're just going to, as usual, just make everyone attack all of the time. And it's good to see that Rudo is finally actually being attacked instead of Rolf or Ney, despite him being in the lead. He is finally actually tanking attacks. I don't know why no one was bothering to attack him before we got here, but, you know, maybe he did something this tower, they just really don't like him here. Right. I believe it's down here. And then it's up this way. Yes. There we are. Right, next floor. This is the third floor of the dungeon. There is a big feature to this one. Okay. We need to head right from the teleporter. Oh. Enemy spinners. Well, they weren't that threatening. I think everyone, assuming they don't kinda spread themselves out, they should be able to get rid of most of them on a single round. Again, I really can't tell how much damage they're doing. I'm just waiting until we get to something like 25 HP and then we'll start healing people. But until then, we're just going to assume we're doing fine. The JRPG has definitely gotten better at communicating what's going on. And we've seen these guys plenty of times before, in the hours and hours of grinding I was doing yesterday for currency. I've seen plenty of poisoners and bees. They're no threat. We can get rid of them pretty easily. But there is the big aspect of this third floor. The pit in the center of it. If we fall back down there, we'll end up dropping back onto the second floor. Don't want to bother doing that, so we're going to be a bit careful going near it, that we don't end up doing something stupid or just walking off the side. A single carrier, that should be fine if we just get everyone to attack. Attack order is a little bit strange in this game. I'm not quite sure how it works, because even my own party members, they're not always attacking in the same order. I really don't know what the speed stat is. I need to look into that a bit more between episodes. But we want to just inch our way around this section. Don't want to walk off any gaps. Okay, this doesn't look too bad. We'll just fight. I'm not quite sure how the game figures out the order in which it attacks, but it seems that characters will always attack a specific group of enemies. It almost feels like rather than enemies being divided into individuals, they're all kind of lumped together as like a species, if you will. So you can only attack a specific type of enemy and not a specific individual enemy, if that makes sense. So if there are, say, 3 bees and 1 frog, you can only decide to attack bees. You can't decide to attack this specific bee, if that makes sense. Right, we've crossed the gap. You'll end up along the north wall. We want to head east, and then we're just gonna, as has been the case up to now, be kind of directed along to the to where we need to go. And maybe we've somewhat over-leveled for this section, because this really hasn't been too bad so far. The guide was making it out like this was going to be a real slog, a real dangerous slog. And it is, you know, something of a slog. It is a bit long in the tooth, but in terms of actual difficulty, maybe once we end up on the 4th and final floor, We'll be singing a different tune, but it's not been too bad thus far. Right, we just want to go along here, and then that's the teleporter in the corner we want to go for. On to the 4th floor. And that's a somewhat grisly sight I think I can see in the corner. A body. I'm going to assume that these are the guys. Yeah, these are the bodies of the scoundrels. I wonder if the biohazards killed them. Well, clearly they haven't been grinding to level up. So there we are. Biohazards that invaded probably killed them. Not too dangerous though. Or maybe the ones in this 4th floor are. But we want to head up here. Because in this corner over here, there's a chest with the Sill ribbon. And we want to go and give the Sill ribbon. Who ended up grabbing it? It was Rudo. Okay. Who ended up getting that thing? I want to give the Sill ribbon to Nay, because that's her gear. So how do I give it to her? Does this actually scroll or something? Ah, okay, I see. Yeah, right. We want to give the Sill ribbon to Nay. Again, every character has their own individual inventory, which makes things a bit awkward. But now we can go on to Nay, and we're going to go and equip the Sill ribbon, which ups her defense quite a bit. That's good to see. Makes her a little bit tankier. But this section's not too bad. Can't really see the walls because they're hidden behind the pipes, but there we are. Ah, amaranths. They're honestly still probably the scariest thing we've seen up until this point. They were the one way that we could realistically grind for any experience in the last area, and I don't know why I've gone and made him do 4 again. I forgot that we're now dealing more damage just attacking things. They're pretty tanky. They have 23 HP. Hopefully, Rolf would be able to kill them in a single attack. The problem is they paralyze your units, which makes things just a bit more tedious because now they can't really do anything. Okay, 16. Okay, they have pretty high defense then, clearly. He's no longer paralyzed. Fantastic. But go on. Get rid of him. There we are. They're the most dangerous enemies so far, those amaranths. But not too bad. Alright, we're going to ignore that body. Had it come in, you know, when it bombed an entire town, an innocent town. They had it going for them. And we're just going to get rid of the rest of the biomonsters. Easy mode. I'm not really sure what the spinners are. I don't know why everything suddenly got quite microbial in this level. Spinners, amobas, all of the other things are kind of creepy, weird tardigrade things. Not a huge fan of them. Instead of the bugs and snakes that we've been dealing with thus far. But like before, we're just making our way to the corner of the level. Around all of this. Maybe I've ended up, the few times that I've played JRPGs, I haven't played a huge number of them, maybe I've just ended up playing the really difficult ones, because I gotta say, this feels like a pretty typical first dungeon, you know? It's not crazy dangerous. I suppose if I didn't have a guide, it'd be another matter, but in my eyes, the game came with a guide. I don't feel like I'm really cheating by having it. If you release a game that's so complicated that you give the players a guide with the game, I don't think it's that you know, you can really say that they're cheating for using said guide. We'll go around here. Some more amaranths. Let's see. I don't know why they're dealing with the spinner first. That's really not the most dangerous enemy here. But I think we will probably go and heal Rolf after this fight. Because because he is starting to get a little bit weak. And Rudo will go and heal both of them. Oh, come on, dude. Just hit the thing. It's massive. You can't possibly miss it. It's even got one of those suit weak spots. It's got a giant red eye in the center of his head. Maybe you should go and try and hit that. Alright, technique. We'll go and quickly get Nay to go and heal. Especially Rolf. He's got plenty of TP, so we should be good to do it. Unfortunately, I don't know whether it's intentional or not. We can only heal one person at a time before we have to close the menu and do it again. It's a bit annoying. There we are. I'd say that's good for now. Now we're heading down this way. Around these rows. Buzzers! Is this like a Sonic the Hedgehog situation where there's a dozen different bee enemies and they all look pretty much identical? How much damage? Oh, okay, they're doing a lot of damage. They're doing 6 whole points of damage. That's a lot for this stage in the game. Might need to go and heal Rolf all over again, to be honest. And they're pretty tanky as well. I'll be honest, I'm not loving how rarely Rolf is attacking. Maybe it's something to do with the fact that he's only got the one weapon or something. Maybe multiple weapons make you attack more often. But considering he's our main damage dealer, he's just not attacking as often as I would like him to. But it's just around these corridors. To the left. Then we're making our way into that room, yes, to deal with this scoundrel. Die, Darum pronouns, they never stood a chance. As the bodies of the scoundrels, I wonder if the biohazards killed him. Oh my, there was something inside the pocket. Rudo's found small key. Rudo's found a letter. Rudo's gone hold of letter. Does the letter say anything? The note said, Darum, I have your daughter Tiame locked in Needle Tower. Pay 50,000 Meseta in 1 month if you ever want to see her again. Get the money, Darum turned to crime. Oh, he wrote that in the letter as well, did they? Okay, that's the first time that we've really seen the why Darum's suddenly turned to banditry. Makes sense. I think we could probably have implied that at this point, but, you know, here's what it is. Alright, we're just going to let people attack. I hope that they actually go and attack a single enemy this time, rather than spraying themselves out and doing nothing quickly. As it is, they're just letting themselves get whittled down. This is ridiculous. Come on, guys. Be a bit more organised. You're just kind of lining up to let yourself get a hit here. Oh, come on. Nay coming in clutch. Yep. There we are. Alright, the guide says that we should leave and come back once we've healed up back at the nearest town, but I don't think that's really necessary. I think we can just get Nay to heal people a few more times. Go and heal, we have to 43. Maybe they said that just because they didn't want to get people to sit here and have to sit here and do all of this over and over again. But there we are. We're going to want to head back down. I want to head back down to the lower levels. I want to go back to the second floor of the dungeon. So it is, unfortunately, a trek back this way. We could probably teleport down to the bottom floor because Rolf now has an ability that lets him escape dungeons and then kind of work our way back from below. But the enemies here are giving us slightly more XP and slightly more money. And we're not really in any danger. Even if Nay was to run out of healing, of TP to heal, we actually have a load of healing items in our inventory, so we're fine. So we're actually just going to walk back from the 4th floor as we saw, we can drop from the 3rd floor pretty quickly. These guys are all kind of advanced versions of the basic enemies we've dealt with thus far. The waspy is an advanced version of the mosquito, the buzzer is an advanced version of the bee. Looks like Nay's going to need some healing in a moment. But let's just get... Oh, let's get rid of one buzzer, I was hoping, but... God, they're really tanky. Take a real beating. 95 Meseta, that's what we like to see. Let's just check people's state in terms of max health. Yeah, right. As you can see, Rudo is our tank, he's got the most health. But we will go and heal Nay quickly. Nay will touch Nay's wounds to heal herself. Obviously, just a limitation of how the game writes its messages. But a bit of a funny thing. It's like, talk to yourself in the 3rd person, you know. There we are. After dealing with those enemies, I'm almost preferring to be back here dealing with the strange microbial enemies. At least they go down quickly. Don't put up much of a fight. And again, you saw that for some reason they attacked for this time. I'm almost convinced that attack orders almost randomized at this point. 13 experience points, that's honestly huge for this point in the game. It feels really sad to say that I'm getting excited to see people giving us 13 experience points. That's nothing in most other games. Right, but we slowly walk back this way. Dealing everything we come across. Weird fart cloud. Go on. Weird fart cloud spewing snot at us. Great. So that was fun for Rudo. But anyway, I'm nearly off the 4th floor. Yeah, I definitely think that the guide, as much as it says that this area should be quite difficult, I definitely think the guide has somewhat over-leveled me, because this really isn't that bad. Fart clouds and carriers. An enemy that frankly looks more intimidating than they are actually dangerous. Oh, come on. Yeah, they look like proper creepy kind of might tick enemies, but in reality it doesn't really look like they're doing much damage at all to anyone. There we are. Rudo Party victorious. 11 experience points a whole. Double-digit experience points. It's crazy. I need to be coming back here for my grinding. Couple more amoebas. Amoebas? I don't know. Not entirely sure how you say it. Are they even... They're definitely dealing damage, but it seems really minute. Like barely anything. I figure they'd be at least dealing a fair amount. But we can get to the 2nd floor pretty easily, because once we get to the pit, we just drop down from there. We don't actually need to make our way to a teleporter. Oh, come on. Fart cloud dealt with. Carrier, almost done. There we are. I'm kind of curious how big these enemies are, like, compared to a human. The thing with these kind of traditional RPG styles where it's just still images, you can't really tell how big enemies are in relation to your characters. Right, that should put us on the 2nd floor. Yep, we're at the edge of the crossroad. So we need to head to each corner of the of this floor. We need to go to the teleporter in each corner. Which is around here. Yep, there it is. We need to drop down to the first floor, grab whatever's in the chest, and then head back up to this floor. So pretty simple. I think we'll probably heal Rolf in a moment, but should be fine. Yeah. Even up to this point, the hasn't had to be too much thought going into our fighting. Especially at this point, Rolf is actually more powerful attacking with his basic weapon than he is with his actual abilities, so even less thought there. But here we are, we just come here, grab whatever's in the chest. Oh, do we need to use our item? Well, that's just a bit unnecessary. Rue just found dynamite. That's a key item. We'll need that in a moment, I'm sure. And then we just head back to all of the corners and do the same thing at each of them. Are we able to go right around the building, or do we have to do it in a specific order? Ah, great. We're going to head east, and we're going to go and get the one in the southeast corner first, because you can't loop back around from the northeast, which is the way that route goes. Oh, go on, get out of your system. I don't even think they're hitting them. Like, I think the screen kind of flashes a bit if they actually land the hit, but if the character portrait just appears and then disappears, I think that symbolizes a miss. But we just want to head down here. We want to get onto this teleporter. Oh, come on. Really? Luckily, not too dangerous. Mosquito will get a single hit in, but who cares? Ruder's got plenty of health left. How much money have we ended up getting? Because we do want to buy a few things later on, and they're quite expensive. Oh, that's not bad. I think that should be pretty good. Right, okay, so item, Rudo, small key, container opened, ridiculous. There we are, we have another stick of dynamite. We'll probably have to go and get them all out of Rudo's inventory eventually and kind of separate them a bit more. But for now, we just deal with more enemies. Not too bad. Spinners really aren't any threat, they're not particularly tanky. It would be nice to see how close we are to leveling up each of our characters, but you can only do that in the save locations, and the only one we found with one of them at the moment is in Paseo. Bit frustrating, but there we are. Makes things just take a bit longer than they need to. Right, froggies though. Again, they look kinda creepy, but easy to deal with, really easy. Could definitely do with a turbo mode though. Right, up this way, back. We've already been this way. We didn't bother the first time because we didn't have the key. But this time we will. Right, go on. There we are, good to see that Rudo dealt with the Locust. That means we're not wasting Rolf's more powerful attack. And then they very quickly deals with that final mosquito. I'm not sure whether you can have more than 2 enemy types in a single fight, because there's only 2 boxes up there, which to me implies that it doesn't really know how to deal with more than that, but we'll see. Small key, use, container opens, what's inside, monomat, I think that's a healing item. I think the mates, or mats, or whatever they are, I think they're healing, and then there's another kind of suffix for the items that restore your TP and do other similar utility things. Carriers and spinners. Let's go. Let's deal with them. Yeah, the game, you know, like I was saying in the last episode, after I had done hours and hours and hours of grinding, the game, like all of these older ones, found its own ways to make sure that the experience lasted and people felt that they were getting their worth out of it. In this case, just by making the grind really long and making it so you walk really slowly through your dungeons. Maybe that's why they weren't exactly horrified at the fact that in turn made ridiculously complex dungeons, because it just means you take ages to get through them. Right, small key again, we'll use it. Container opens. What's inside? 150 Meseta. That's good. Fortunately, no way out of these rooms, so we have to go the long way around. I think I don't really have anything more to say about Shore, so I think I'm just going to cut here and I'll see you guys outside. Yeah, that was definitely a dungeon that we had over-prepared for. Really, in the end, wasn't that bad at all. Not to mention the fact that I made my way through the entire second and first floors from the point that I left you guys, only just as I walked through the door to realise that I had a teleport spell the entire time, and I could have just gone out that way. And why are we all of a sudden surrounded by so many enemies? This is ridiculous. The Amaranths are a good way to grind, but I don't really want to bother at this point. I just want to get back to Arima and heal. This is ridiculous. Why is it when I'm grinding, I'm sat there for like 5 minutes running around trying to find a single enemy, and now that I just want to get back to town, they're everywhere. Of course you're going to paralyze me. Doesn't even really affect me because I'm just going to kill you immediately afterwards, but it just means I have to go and press triangle a single more time to get through the fight. Did we hit like a lure or something? Did we end up like running into some funny smelling smoke as we were going around, and now all of a sudden we got some sort of biomutant pheromones on us or something? This is absurd. I suppose that it is getting us money, and the guide, if we were to follow the guide, that's something that we're definitely going to need, because it recommends that we go and buy 4 ceramic knives for Rudo and Rolf, which might sound fairly harmless, but the ceramic knives are ridiculously expensive. So the fact we need to go and buy 4 of them for the next area, Nito Tower, is a somewhat scary thought. There we are, finally in Arima. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go run to the hospital. Hey guys, we got the 2 sticks of dynamite. Apparently that's enough to blow up this entire town again. Cost 30 Meseta. I think we can probably afford that. Does anyone else need to be cured? No, we don't. Right, there we are. We're back in town. And we're going to go and sell a few things, I think. Can we sell all of our items in one shop? Or do we have to go to the right shops? Oh, great. Okay, we can't sell here. But what we want is these ceramic knives. So the fact we need 4 of them is going to be a lot of off-screen grinding before we get to the next dungeon, Nido Tower. So we're just going to buy the 1 straight away, because we just want to hurry things along a bit. We're going to give it to Rudo, because I want to see him attack things a bit faster, frankly. I really was hoping we'd be able to sell the stuff here, because otherwise we're going to have to go all the way back to Paseo and sell things in the shop there. Which isn't terrible, but it's just like, really, you know? Like, we've got a lot of stuff here. We probably don't need all of it. can at least get rid of the headgear, you know. Right, ceramic knife. Give it to his right hand. Oh. It says that it's really powerful, so the fact that it's barely improved doesn't bode well for me. I just want to share things around a bit more because it's filling up Rudo's inventory at this point. Although I suppose if we start running out of space, I like to think they're just going to stick it in the other guy's pockets. Alright, well, the next step is Needle Tower, but I'm going to need to do a lot of grinding and a lot of selling of stuff and all the rest of that to prepare for that area. As much as I think the guide is over-preparing us, it's only going to make the future easier on us. So, I'm going to see you guys in just a moment. It's going to be a few seconds of a cut for you guys, but it's probably going to be hours and hours and hours of grinding for me. So, you know, think of me. It has been 2 days since I last recorded anything in Phantasy Star 2. 2 whole well, not whole, 2 days of grinding very slowly and tediously in the very beginning of the next dungeon to go and afford all of the upgrades and get to the recommended levels of the guide. It has been a massive slog. Already at this stage of the game, the grind takes a very, very long time. But finally, we are in a position where we can buy our final ceramic knife. We can go and equip it to Rolf. Let's see. Yep, get the secondary ceramic knife, put it on his left hand. It has made a big difference, I will admit. We are doing a lot more damage than we used to, and according to the guide, that doing this preparation now should prepare us for future dungeons as well, so we're a little bit future-proofed as well before we begin the next dungeon. But even so, what a slog. And I'm glad it's finally over, and we can actually progress. Now, the area we're going from this point on, from the town of Arima, we head back to the dungeon of Shore, which is the place that we just got through, from your point of view, of course. My point of view, it was days ago. I don't know why, but for some reason suddenly everyone's missing constantly. Hope that's not a problem. But yeah, we battle through all these enemies. We head up back to the tower of, or the Shura facility. Come on. No one really poses any threat for us anymore. The locusts, easy to take out. Even the amaranths, the most dangerous enemy we've met up to this point, not really much of a threat anymore. In some extreme cases, we're able to take them out in one hit. It's usually 2, but seeing as our 2 main, everyone is now attacking twice in a single turn. That's pretty much a given. Ney is unfortunately still quite a bit weaker than everyone else, but it is what it is. The other thing is that Rolf, having reached level 10, has also unlocked a new ability. He, like Ney, can also heal people now. We haven't really needed to worry about it in a fight. I've always been doing it out of fights, but it could be useful. I'm sure once we actually get to more in-depth boss fights and dungeons, it'll be much more of a thing. But at this point, we can really just get away with just spamming attacks constantly. Oof. I do kind of wish that this game had something like the... I know the Pokemon games, I can't remember what the item's called, but they have something that lets you scare away random encounters. I know that's a pretty common thing in a lot of newer JRPGs, just because it gets a bit tedious, especially once you're such a high level that you're not even needing to think about the fights. It's just like, yep, okay, come on. Come and get it. Like, it's a bunch of fire ants, they're the earliest enemy in the game. I don't know why they're attacking first, they should not be faster than us, but there it is. There we go. Right, come on, we're nearly there. Nearly there. We just go around this forest, around these farms, and it should be coming into view. It would just be too good for us to just get to the tower as it is. But that, much as it didn't really look like it, was Nido Tower. That is our current location. It is where, if you are doing what I'm doing and buying ceramic knives for everyone and just grinding to match the guide, it's where it recommends you do so in this opening room, this little tiny opening room. I haven't actually progressed any further, however, because to get in, we require a stick of dynamite. Now that's in Rudo's inventory. So we just pick it up, select the dynamite, we use it. Is there going to be... Oh, there we go. There actually was an explosion. I almost wasn't expecting that because the game is not the most cinematic, even for the time. We are seeing mostly upgraded versions of the enemies we've seen up until this point. So, bees are being replaced by buzzers. The poisoners replaced by spit kills. They're pretty much the same, except instead of paralyzing, they're causing our party members to sleep. Not really much of a danger. Now, if we just wanted to progress in the dungeon, and we didn't want to grab anything, we would head straight to the left and go up to the 3rd floor. But we do want to grab all of the items in this location, so we're instead going to head to the right as far as we can, right up to the wall. We're going to go around, and then I believe we're going to go straight up to the next floor. Let's see. Yep, we're going to go straight up to floor 2. Up here. And we're going to then go around the suit. And we're going to head up to this chest here to grab a little bit of money. 100 meseta, not a huge amount, but every little helps at this point, frankly. Because things are so expensive in this game, so any source of money is good. We can then just go straight back down. No, not until we deal with another spit kill. They're not the tankiest. It's a little bit annoying that Nay generally attacks first, and the spit kill enemy will often attack before Rolf or Rudo can, but once one of them gets their hands on it, they don't really stand much of a chance. But we head back down here, and then we're going to walk east. I managed to get a little bit turned around. I actually went a little bit too far into the dungeon, but it turns out that there is another item in this corner of this section. You want to go up to the 3rd floor, and then we got a little bit of a walk to go. We're going to go right around the edge of the building. Up here, there's only really one item on this 3rd floor that we really want to be able to get at this point, and then we're heading all of the way back down. But just over in this corner, once we deal with the enemies, I really don't know what's going on with these locusts. I don't know whether the intent is just to make them really intimidating, only for them to be some of the weaker enemies in the game or something, but they're just nothing. But yeah, we're just up in this corner. There it is. Wrong button. We get a Trimate, which is a powerful healing potion. But that's all we really need to worry about on the 3rd floor for now. We can just walk back, deal with some poisoners very quickly. Pretty much all of our characters can take them out in one hit, assuming Nay gets a little bit lucky with the damage. It's a good source of money. For some reason, despite not being very powerful, maybe because they can inflict a status effect, they give us a ton of money and experience compared to how tanky and difficult they actually are to deal with. But anyway, we'll head back down to the 2nd floor. Then back down to the 1st floor, and we're going to actually continue in the dungeon proper. Back down here, and then like before, this is where I got confused on the guide. You need to go northeast again. I was misreading the guide in that bit where I cut, and I ended up coming down here and getting a bit lost. But we want to head this way, after dealing with the waspies and the buzzers. Again, Nay's the only real weak link when it comes to damage at this point. Everyone else is doing a ton to everyone. But nay, still a little bit weak. I suppose he's not really an attacker, but he's not really our healer either. Not, you know, not when you're looking at the broader picture of the game. So he's just kind of like an early game, almost just a third wheel, because it doesn't really specialize in anything in particular. Her thing is just she's got a really high agility stat, so no one bothers fighting her. But like, that's not really useful. How are you supposed to use that in a strategy? There we are, we grab all of that. We head along this way again. For me, first time for you guys. And there is a teleporter up this way. Now we've already picked up an item on this floor. But what we want to do is head down here. And we're just going to grab a little bit of money. Like really, basically nothing. It's barely anything from this chest down here, but we're going to go for it anyway. You know, sake of completion. Get rid of everyone, come on. Wipe them. Ah, not quite. So the buzzer's going to get another hit in on someone. There we go, get another hit in on Rolf. Rudo and party are victorious as usual. Head down here, go around this little turn. Then we should see, just around here, there it is. A little chest with 20 Meseta in it. Nothing. Can't really do anything with 20 Meseta. I'm not sure there's any items in the game that you can buy with that much. Barely even contributes to anything. But it is a chest. We're going to get it. You know, what's the point of not? It's not like the enemies here are really that much of a threat anymore. They're all quite simple to deal with. But we're going to head back. Up here. Around here. Down in this little nook by here. Oh, of course. You're really getting in the way, Amarants and Waspies. I was going to go and showcase something there. Luckily, Waspies, unless our characters miss, very easy to deal with. It's just the Amarants are again a bit tanky. But yeah, there's a die mate in that. That's a slightly less powerful healing item. That's the kind of the main one we're going to be buying for most of the game. Carry is easy enough to deal with. Rudo and party are victorious. Gain a little bit more money, but not a huge amount. But we're going to come down here. You can see the teleporter we're going to be taking in just a moment by there. I think it's up here. Yes. You can see there's two different teleporters. We're going to first take the one up to the 3rd floor. We're going to go around it. And we're going to come down here. And around this... around that corner. After dealing with these guys. Yeah, it's really quite annoying that Ney is the one that always attacks first. Because he just kind of almost ends up wasting our turn. Because then Rudo or Rolf will end up attacking the same enemy. And basically, you know, like dealing 1 point of damage when they could be dealing 20 points of damage to one of these guys. But the game doesn't really give you the tools to really strategize in that way. Again, like I was saying in the last dungeon, you can only really aim for a specific type of enemy, but not individuals. And you can only do that prior to a turn. So you can't even, unless you can kind of guess in advance who's going to go first, which isn't as easy as it should be. You just kind of have to do it with what the game does. There's a level of randomness which isn't particularly common in most JRPGs, in the same manner at least. So it's at least a very different kind of randomness. Instead of like drops or whatever, it's just a case of who's going to attack first. All the rest of that. But anyway, we come down here, back down to the ground floor, the 1st floor. Come along this way. We go onto this teleporter here. Really? And of course they get to attack first, even if it does basically nothing. Like, why even turn up if it's just going to be one of you guys? Nothing's going to come of that. Anyway, up here, I believe this is just a little corridor. Yeah, it's a little corridor. We take it just kind of to the end, frankly. Ignore the offshoots, there's nothing up there. Onto that teleporter. Up to the 3rd floor. And we want to go this way around. Are we going to see some new enemies, or are we just going to see a bunch of poisons? Yeah, there are a couple of other enemies in this dungeon apparently, but like I'm not sure where they are, or I'm not seeing them. I'd also kind of expect there to be a boss at this point, but apparently the game doesn't seem to have that many bosses. It's really quite... I wouldn't say lacking, that's not quite the right term, but there just aren't that many of them, generally. How? I think the buzz is something like 20 HP, which is kind of annoying when you have a character that deals 19 damage to him. It's like, fantastic. Wonderful. But there we are. Get a couple of experience points. Go around here. Once again, we're just kind of going to the end of the corridor. Or it's more of an open space this little bit. I suppose we can strategize a little bit. Get Rudo to attack the buzzers. We can also get Rolf to attack the buzzers. But it's just like... that's a bunch of extra steps that don't really need to be there. Again, they don't really pose any threat to us. It's just a bit like... it's kind of annoying that we can't get rid of them in a single turn. Whereas if we could better strategize, probably could. There we go. And then it's just in this room here, I believe, we're going to find Tame, the girl that we came to this tower to find, as shown in the letter. Rudo hands over letter. Tame's hands are shaken. My father has become a killer for my sake. I must stop him. Take me to him. But there are many who hate Darum. His daughter would be an easy target. Rudo puts a veil over Tame to hide her identity and takes her to see her father. So she's joined our party, but as soon as we turn around, we see, well, finally, one new enemy, the Vortex. I'm assuming an upgrade to the Spinner enemy. I mean, I suppose they're a bit tanky, but that's kind of like a 3rd tier Biomutant, if that makes sense. The Spinners being like a 2nd tier one, so I suppose that's another kind of upgrade to another level. But anyway, with Tame, we're just going to go... I was going to say we're going to go down to the bottom of the tower, but I remember from the last one, I remember from Shior, I've just got a technique to do that. If I get Rolf, and then I use the Hinas ability, or Hinas, whatever it is, Rolf's body feels very light, and it would teleport just outside. Now, technically, Tame has apparently joined our party, but, you know, she's not actually there, I guess, so all we need to do from this point is head back to town. So in reality, as much as we did that, we could have really used the, where is it? Rolf. We can use the Ryuka ability, because we're going to the North Tunnel. That's actually closer to this town. We can use Ryuka. Come out here, through this tunnel. Up we go. Through there. And then it's just at the top of this section of the map. Bees get in our way. I mean, they're not even worth thinking about at this point. Just delete them straight away. I heard that Earthbound has a thing where if enemies are way weaker than you, the game just like instantly kills them. I kind of wish that this game did that. But again, This is a very early JRPG, so all of these quality of life things, it's no wonder it doesn't really have them. But anyway, with that, we can go meet Darum. What's Tim doing? I'm gonna meet my father. Don't go anywhere. Hey girl, give me your money or I'll kill you. Nothing to give to the likes of you. Why you? Well, that was kind of foreseeable, to be honest. As much as the game makes it out like Darum, you know, turned to a life of crime out of desperation, it's like, he really went into it, you know? Like, he didn't have to go this far, you know? He could have just been like a Robin Hood kind of guy, or just like a... The guide specifies that Darum stabs himself. He turns his sword on himself. It didn't specify that he then exploded. So, that was something. Just another one of the tragedies the world has come to pass as the world falls into turmoil. Someone must save us. Well, yeah, that's kind of our job. That's why we're here, ultimately. We're JRPG protagonists. That's kind of our job. Now, we can finally head through the North Tunnel and move on to the next town of the game. But that is going to be in the next episode. This one was a bit messy, what with the length of time it took grinding in between episodes, so I'm sorry if things felt a little bit strange at the end of it. You know, it's so long that I almost forget what I said in the first part. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for tuning in. Tune in next time, but for now, adios and ciao.